Welcome to NTD Sport, which is a training encyclopedia. It doubles the size of muscles in youth, eliminating from taking hormones, removes joint pain, helps even paralyzed, and sculpts women, avoiding them from the blowing and suctioning operations together. And now creation of site and application is being done for this sport and also translating it into international languages. In this video, we will explain the chest exercise, how we practice it for bodybuilding in young people, how a woman exercises it to enlarge or slim her chest, and how the injured person exercises it in the shoulder joint to be a treatment, which is also beneficial for those who have a breast tumor. The first caution: never carry weight or dumbbell with one hand. And most importantly, do not carry it by laying your arm aside as in the picture. This may destroy the shoulder joint, but seize the weight with the hand that you will practice with and place your second hand over the first hand as support, and then lift the weight in front of you and not to on your side. The shoulder joint is thus safe. And any information we mention in this video, you can circulate it automatically on all angles that we will pass through the chest. And as you see, 70 degrees, 60 degrees, 45, 0, minus 35. Let's start the exercise at the first corner, where we land the arm to the maximum extent, provided that the entire time is maintained on its perpendicularity to the ground, where we find that this is the maximum range, because if we land more, the forearm will go out of its perpendicularity. Then we raise the verticals of the forearm throughout the exercise as if we draw a circle of equal dimensions, and here the forearm must exit from its perpendicularity at the end of the range when it approaches the head. Its inclination towards the inside moves the pressure from the chest muscle, so it relaxes it. This rest and its amount are 2 seconds that is necessary after each repetition in order to increase the size of the muscle. And repetition is every drop in the arm and relifting it in relation to the chest exercise, or it is the contraction and stretching of the muscle together. In this exercise, whenever we rise to the end of the range and go down, it is considered 1 repetition, and for muscle growth, we do 8 repetitions. This 2-second rest can be resting the arm to the side of the head or by resting it to the other arm. The second caution: this decline of the maximum extent that we mentioned is only for those who have a healthy shoulder joint, where this complete descent is to give a complete shape to the muscle, and it is exclusive to the first angle. As for the rest of the angles, the maximum allowed range of maximum extent is that the humerus is parallel to the floor even if the joint is healthy. As for the infected person in his shoulder, he must reduce the extent of the drop to the level in which he does not feel any pain at all in his shoulder joint. For an infection causes you to descend as a maximum to this level, and a more severe infection may force you to stop before it to this level. Despite this short extent, except you will be surprised by the wonderful results. Because if the infected person pressures himself and endures pain for a greater range of movement, this will cost him aggravating infection and joint damage. But if you restrict it to going down to the safe range, he will not only protect the joint from exacerbating the infection, but the exercise itself will be the best treatment in the world for his or her joint. The important thing is that the exercise be in a range where there's no slightest pain, no matter how short the range is. The secret in that it is the most powerful treatment ever for the joint is that one of the laws of treatment that Firas Al Moneer discovered through his medical sport is good warm-up, heavy weight, a safe angle, near a proximity to the infected area. The treatment that fulfills these conditions is amazing, as the heavy weight provides the joint with a bloody high irritation that nourishes and helps it to quick self-healing, and strengthens the tendons connected to the joint as well as the ligaments attached to its parts, and enlarges the muscle, removes the dislocation in the joint and forces it to return to its correct location and stability on it, while the safe angle not pressing the joint until it relaxes and speeds up its recovery, and being close to the area of infection so that the blood supply is close, so it nourishes, but it is not close to the point of being direct and stressful, so it hurts. As for the warm-up, it needs a video of its own. Therefore, exercising the same exercise that harms the shoulder, if you do it in a lower range with no pain, then it will be a treatment. The extent of which you feel no pain may vary from one corner of the training to this muscle, so be careful. And after a period, when the pain subsides permanently, begin to increase the extent of the decline after having gained a strong joint. Therefore, the advanced in this sport, if started treatment, his or her improvement will be faster because his weight in exercise is greater than the weight of the beginner, and his joint often heals in one setting. Because the beginner may not randomly increase the weights, rather, women increases. For example, every training day 1 kilo is a maximum over the weight exercised by her, while the beginner men can increase it 2 times the weight. As for the advanced player who will apply this video, it will almost only limit the range of movement and will benefit from its high weights in pumping blood vessels too high for the joint. The third caution, do not lean your forearm back or forward, destroying your shoulder joint, but keep your forearm upright all the time. Fourth, never forget your palm folded backward during exercise, as this leads to arthritis of the palm joint. Of course, do not bend it forward and fall from your hand, but keep your palm always upright. Also, do not tilt your forearm away from your body so it presses on the front muscle of the hand, as it may hurt it and the exercise will become more difficult. Also, do not make it lean towards the body so the effect of exercise is lost, but keep it in the middle completely or tilt it very slightly towards the body as it appears in front of you throughout this exercise and throughout the entire movement. Fifth, never close your shoulder to your head, not even half a centimeter, because any approach to the shoulder from the head transfers part of the pressure from the chest muscle to the shoulder muscle, and the shoulder muscle is much weaker than the mighty chest muscle. So it will hurt the shoulder joint and the chest will not grow further. As we said, this applies to all angles of the exercise, but the lower the angle, for example, the zero angle that appears in front of you, where the range of movement of the shoulder is greater and thus the possibility of error is also greater. So hold your shoulder joint far from your head and go backwards towards your hips, with fixing the joint towards your hips, but your arm goes towards your head to the maximum, provided that it does not affect the stability of your shoulder joint. Your shoulder joint must remain as close to your hips as possible, and as a result of both your arm and shoulder going in opposite directions, full muscle strain occurs to the outer part of the chest, is what is required, but if you don't pay attention to that, a percentage of pressure will move instead of the chest to the front shoulder. So the correct shape is as you see it in front of you now. And for those wishing to increase the speed of the growth of the chest muscle and have no pain in the shoulder joint, they must add the dual exercise, and it is as follows. Displace yourself to the right of the bench in case you want to exercise in the right arm. For example, in a way that the shoulder muscle is free outside the bench and only the bone of the shoulder joint is based on the edge of the bench, which will form a pivot to the rotational movement such as the one that the caliper needs to draw a circle. Likewise, bring the two legs towards the right to make them a focus too, but do not care about the accuracy of what relates to your legs, but take a position that relaxes you and provides you with a greater range of your chest movement. You can even cross your legs as you see. Now start the exercise by turning your upper torso towards your right shoulder joint to the maximum possible level, provided that your shoulder is fully held in place and your right arm is firm and your humerus is flat against the floor throughout the exercise as you see in the picture. Then return your body to its original position, and this is how you rotate and return until you finish the exercise. You can repeat the same method with all angles of the chest. These pictures show you the exercise from many sides. As for the triple system of this muscle, it is similar to the duo with a single difference, which is that the arm does not remain stationary, but rather it moves during the movement of the body's rotation. That is, as if the arm is practicing the normal basic exercise that we started with the video, which is known to all players, which Firas Al Moneer calls mono, as if the arm is exercising the primary mono, while the body's rotation implements the aforementioned binary system. But since the body rotates towards the shoulder joint and the arm upward at the same time, this will limit the range of movement of each of them. Neither the arm will be able to rise to the maximum nor the body from rotating to the maximum, as if both meet in the middle area. Here is an important note that the speed of rotation of the body and the height of the arm must be equal so that neither of them precedes the other to the end of the range. And also, the return to the original place must be both rotation and landing at one speed. The triad is the most system that needs mental clarity, focus, and calm. And the triad is not to increase the muscle mass in the first place, but to increase its beauty, especially by creating piloting for it in the form which is desired by the athletes, so it is practiced exclusively on the day of exercising with the middle weights, which Firas devotes another video to explain, which you see in his site on the internet. It is this color, and we mean in the middle 75% of the maximum heavy weight. That is, if you were exercising on the day of exercising by heavy weight with 10 kilograms, for example, the day of the middle weight would exercise with only 7.5 kilograms. Unless you are not interested in maximum magnitude, you can exercise with it on a heavy day as well. And he says that because excessive exercises may beautify the muscle but destroy its size at the same time. As for the origin, the exercise is only mono and binary exercises, which are sufficient for the size and beauty together, but the triple is an additional cosmetic step in the first class. I come back, so I remind that all of the mono, bilateral, and triple exercises we have talked about that you can practice in all the corners of the chest. And here are screenshots of the trio in the zero angle. As for the last angle, minus 35, we will add an exercise for it on its own that will be an addition to what we have mentioned. Which is, as you can see, it is required to raise the shoulders to the maximum distance from the body and throughout the exercise, going down and up, and that the entire arms are parallel to each other. And thus, the distance between the shoulders is equal to what is between elbows and equal between the hands. And the movement of the exercise is only by rotating the shoulder while preserving everything else is fixed. And by rotating the shoulder, as you see, the hand touches the ground or the weight touches the ground. And the best, of course, is that the weight touches the ground. And the condition of this exercise is that the weight touches the ground at the end of the possible range of movement and not touch it before that, so that the maximum range of shoulder rotation is achieved. Because the greatest benefit lies in the greater extent of this exercise, and therefore if you practiced it to the maximum extent, it would have been more beneficial exercise for your health, as it modifies the curvature of the shoulders and makes your back straight and gives the chest a fullness in the guys. As for women, it is the most important exercise for her chest at all beauty. And a brain perfusion helps in treating many diseases, including Parkinson's disease. And this exercise differs from all exercises that we mentioned in all its angles. On the one hand, that rest is in it for 2 seconds, but when reaches the ground and not at the top unless the earth is far away. Rest will have to be made at the top. If weights are too heavy, it will be dangerous to train in dumbbells for fear that they will fall on the head. Then you should switch to this tool shown in the picture. Note: you must adhere to my explanation, which you hear from me. It is more accurate than the picture in this video. Just as the sport of NTD all depends on the feeling and not on the sight in the first place. And by that, I mean that you do not make your standard is to reach the movement to the extent you saw it like in your eyes in the pictures. But your scale is to feel that you have reached the muscle to the full extent required by focusing your mind on feeling it and extent, because in terms of the external appearance, the range of movement may differ from one person to person due to the difference in its structure. Although it is extremely important to be precise in this video's exercises, and though it is the best exercises for this muscle at all, it is one of many factors that combine to give you rapid and amazing muscle growth. The remaining factors are in the following videos for this video, but very urgently, I say that beginners or those who have not practiced this sport for more than 2 months, they must start with 1 kilo of exercise for women and 2 kilos for men. And always 8 repetitions, and every 5 days they repeat the exercise and gain weight by the same amount. So it becomes an example on the next training day. The woman exercises with 2 kilos and the man with 4 kilos, and so on. And resting between the angles of the exercise about 5 minutes. And the exercise should be somewhat slow, as it makes muscle contraction in any exercise or its extension 3 seconds. Otherwise, the effectiveness of the exercise will decrease and you will expose yourself to infections as well. Because the speed in landing in mono enables Earth gravity to steal the exercised weight from you, as well as the speed in the duo steals from you a sense of the dangerous pressure point on the joint. So you cannot avoid it because the duo has something of relative danger on the shoulder joint. Beginners, in order not to exhaust the muscle from the first day, delaying its growth, they must exclude from the aforementioned exercises the 70 angles and the 45 angles and postpone them to an upcoming training phase that will be interpreted. And shoulder treatment exercises compared to exercises to inflate the muscle are the same, except that those who wish to treatment have a short range of movement, as we mentioned, and do not exercise the duo or the trio. And for those wishing to slim the chest, it is required for them to treat the shoulder joint first, if it is infected with the treatment method that I mentioned, and then enter the slimming exercises. As for those with a healthy shoulder, they can immediately practice these same exercises, but without increasing the weight that they exercise with. but they increase the number of repetitions in each training session. The best exercises for slimming are mostly chosen. These are because it affects the entire center of the chest, and this is because it affects the entire end of the outer chest, meaning that they target more space and burn more fat in a shorter time. And because these two exercises are the most secure on the shoulder joint. Then the man usually exercises in all angles of the chest. As for the woman, she often selects from the angles what is suitable for the shape of her chest, so the player can choose the angles that they want and not others. Therefore, I'm going to color the target area for each of the angles that we mentioned, and they are as follows. Actually, you can practice the exercises mentioned in the gym, which is the best solution. Those who cannot get out of the house can reach almost the same results by exercising on pillows on the bed or placing the pillow on a chair or in a way that it is important to achieve the angles and conditions that we mentioned accurately so that to avoid infection and harm. One can also carry weights of iron in the club or buy weights at home or carry a bottle of water. For example, after he knows its weight to what there are many solutions, but it gives less benefits than the sports club. And in upcoming videos, we may talk about how to exercise aerobic movements without any machines or weights, and how they give 30% of the benefits of the training in the club. In this video, the differences may not seem significant between the MTD style of the training and the rest of the methods. And I excuse who will think that, but the reason for this delusion is that today we talked about movements and the NTD is the least that distinguishes it from the others are the movements. As for what Firas Al Moneer has to explain in future videos, it is the rest of the many and accurate factors that lead to the rapid magnitude, careful beautification, and effective treatment. Those factors that have nothing about movements, but secrets that affect their location behind the scenes. In the comments under this video, mention all your questions and I will answer a section of them, and I will create videos to answer another section. And if you imagine yourself doing this exercise and put links in the comments, and when I put a mark of like next to it, this means that your practice of this exercise was correct, as well as any question that you ask if I put the sign of the like for you. This means that your understanding is correct and that my answer is a true. And whoever likes to send the link in the email, then this is the email, even if I prefer the comments under the video. After a while, Firas Al Moneer will announce the resumption of exams for those wishing to obtain a certificate from him to become qualified trainers or for clubs that want to obtain a training concession. He will put the names of trainers and centers accredited by him on a page of the MTD website that is currently under construction, and exams will be through the internet for the first levels of this sport. This is the first time that this sport is offered free of charge to all people after it costs some patients thousands of dollars. This is your opportunity to benefit and spread these videos so you can encourage us to present more of them.